Today we're cracking open a stack of sources on the American Civil War, and our mission really is to move beyond the familiar narratives. We want to zero in on the essential role Black Americans played, not just in the victory, but as the real agents in ending slavery itself.
It's a necessary shift in perspective, for sure. We're looking at the evidence of Black agency, showing that emancipation wasn't some kind of political gift. It was a strategic necessity that was forced by their actions. I mean, President Lincoln himself is pretty clear on this.
Oh, what did he say?
He admitted, and this is a direct quote, "Without the military help of the Black freedmen, the war against the South could not have been won."
Wow. That just cuts right to the heart of it, doesn't it? It wasn't just a moral decision. It was a practical one. So how extensive was that military help he was talking about?
It was huge. By the end of the war, you're looking at roughly 186,000 Black soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
They served in the U.S. colored troops.
186,000.
Yep. And that made up over 10% of the entire Union Army. We also see about 38,000 of them were killed in action. So these weren't just numbers. They fundamentally tipped the balance.
And it wasn't just about manpower, right? There was a tactical edge. I was reading that a historian, Sam Collins, he notes how many of these troops were formerly enslaved. They knew the South.
Exactly. That's the key. They provided this absolutely invaluable intelligence.
Right. Like knowing the terrain where Confederate supplies were being stored.
Yeah, which creeks you could cross, which you couldn't. It crippled the Confederacy's operations from the inside. But, if the military contribution was that vital, it makes you ask another question.
What about the enslaved people who weren't in uniform? How did their efforts on the home front push the issue?
Well, this is where you really have to challenge the old view of emancipation. W.E.B. Du Bois had this incredible observation. He said enslaved people were the primary architects of their own liberation.
The primary architects.
He called it a general strike,
Yeah.
a massive collective withdrawal of their labor.
A general strike. So you mean they just stopped working?
They just walked away. Think about the economic impact of that. We have records showing upwards of 500,000 enslaved people fled to Union lines. They left fields empty. Supply chains just withered.
So they basically dismantled the South's entire economic and military machine by removing themselves from the equation.
They absolutely did. And then you see these incredible individual acts of agency on top of that.
Like Harriet Tubman. She wasn't just a guide on the Underground Railroad during the war. She was an active military asset.
Mm-hmm. A Union scout and spy. She led the Combahee River Raid in 1863. That was a military operation, and it freed about 700 people.
And what about Robert Smalls?
An amazing story. In 1862, he seizes a Confederate ship, the CSS Planter, and just pilots it right out of Charleston Harbor to the Union blockade. And you have to realize, these things were happening before official policy caught up.
Right, it wasn't waiting for permission.
Not at all. Look at Fredericksburg, Virginia, in April 1862. This is before the Emancipation Proclamation. Over 10,000 enslaved Virginians just walked away to freedom. When the Union Army showed up, they insisted on it.
Which confirms what we were saying about Lincoln, his admission in August 62 that he'd free slaves or not free them purely to save the Union. It shows the proclamation was a strategic act. It was recognizing a reality that was already happening.
Exactly. And that, I think, is the core takeaway for you today. The Union victory and the end of slavery. They were secured by Black courage. They earned their freedom through fighting, through spycraft, through economic warfare.
So if that's the takeaway, what's the final thought we should leave everyone with?
I think it comes down to what Frederick Douglass argued. He connected service directly to citizenship. He said, once a Black man put on that uniform with the U.S. Eagle, there is no power on earth which can deny that he has earned the right to citizenship.
He has earned the right.
Earned it. So the question for you to think about is this. If you accept that Black Americans truly produced their own liberation, how does that change the way you view the post-war struggle for civil rights? They weren't asking for a handout. They were demanding the rights they had already paid for.